Hello. This clip will be on the role of creativity. It's drawn primarily from Chapter 8, but focusing on just that first learning objective, which is describing the role of creative strategy in advertising. And I just want to remind you we reviewed other key learning objectives from this chapter in Week 3, Module 1. If you don't recall that material, you might want to go back and review it. I want to talk about the importance of creativity in advertising. When we talk about creative strategy, we're talking about determining what the advertising message will say or communicate. So that's the what. And the creative tactic is how we're going to say that. I want to point out that there are different perspectives on advertising creativity, and sometimes that sets up tension between managers and creative staff at the agency. A manager's perspective is that advertising is creative only if it's selling the product. Ads are promotional tools. On the other hand, the creative staff at an agency often views creativity of an ad as an artistic value in and of itself. And ads are communication vehicles for promoting their own aesthetic viewpoint and personal career objectives. That is not always true, and the best creative people tend not to think in that way, or might think in that way, but think in that way in combination with understanding the need to make sure they're getting that selling message through. We actually see these two different perspectives reflected to some extent in the different awards available for advertising. One award is the Effies. It's a relatively new award, and it was developed because a lot of managers were unhappy with the awards that were being given out based on creativity alone. So the whole goal of the Effie is to champion, quote, and improving the practice and practitioners of marketing effectiveness. End quote. So the Effies really focus on whether or not a campaign works. That's in contrast to the American Advertising Awards or the Lions. The Cannes Lions is another award and awarding agency. Those tend to focus much more on creativity. So this is the mission statement here. The mission of the American Advertising Awards competition is to recognize and reward the creative spirit of excellence in the art of advertising. Notice it doesn't say anything about effectiveness.
So, Burger King's proposing a burger war ceasefire to join forces with McDonald's on Peace Day and create the McWhopper. That's a big burger with big ambitions. A fair amount to swallow, right? So here's a little how, where, and why to help you digest our proposal. As two of the world's largest brands, we're in the perfect position to influence change. And like BK, McDonald's is committed to leveraging its size, scope, and resources to help make the world a better place. Peace One Day campaigns tirelessly for a better world, but they need our help raising awareness of Peace Day. We could rattle a bucket, but buckets aren't loud. Proposals like McWhopper make noise. Just ask this guy.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Gilly, founder of Peace One Day. The thing I love about the McWhopper project is it walks the walk. It leads by example and demonstrates a genuine commitment to Peace Day and a more peaceful and sustainable world. Corporate activation on this scale creates mass awareness, and awareness creates action, and action saves lives. We hope you get on board, McDonald's.
So do we, Jeremy. We can't do this without them. So we've made participation easy. One location, one day only. We've designed a proposed pop-up restaurant, the packaging, even the staff uniforms. All we have to do is park our differences for one day and do what we both do best. No strings. Together, let's blaze a trail, build the unthinkable burger, and feed the discussion. Let's end the beef with beef. On Peace Day, September 21st, 2015.
So that's one example of an Effie Award-winning ad, and I want to point out that it's actually part of a broader campaign. It originated with Y&R, which is Young and Rubicam in New Zealand, and that actually points up something important as well. The advertising world has become a global world. So we see agencies consolidating with offices owned around the world and agencies located in different parts of the world coming up with campaigns for other countries, as was the case here. This is a microsite that was developed as part of this campaign. That's just me scrolling through the site. Very, very clever site. And this is called a microsite or a mini site. It's not part of Burger King's main website, but it's developed specifically to support this particular ad campaign. And we see this used as a tactic for online support for advertising frequently. So advertising creativity can be defined as the ability to generate fresh, unique, and appropriate ideas that can be used to solve some communication problem. And in many cases, people within the advertising profession think of creativity as divergence. It's doing something differently. So divergence is the extent to which an ad contains elements that are novel, different, unusual, unexpected, and therefore attention-getting. So originality, flexibility, elaboration, synthesis, artistic value, all of those things are things that generate divergence. Take a look at the picture here on the lower right, which is from a Volkswagen of America ad, and you see these people running around in a convertible in the dead of winter with their ski masks on. Unexpected. Relevance can also address the issue of ad creativity. So relevance is the degree to which the elements of an ad mean something to your potential customer. And there's two ways when you can get relevance. One is by having things within the ad itself that are meaningful to the consumer. So it's ad to consumer relevance, and that's what we're saying or what we're doing in the ad. The other is brand to consumer relevance, and that's really more of an issue of where we're placing our advertising. Advertised brands of a product or service is of personal interest to consumers. What that really is saying is we want our ads to appear in front of people who actually have a genuine interest in them. It's nothing but wasted coverage if we put our ads in front of people who are not interested in our products. Darcy McManus, Benton, and Bowles is one of the largest agencies in the world, and they've developed their own internal ad standards. They include these key points. So does the ad position the product simply with clarity? Does it tie the brand to a clinching benefit? Does it contain a powerful or power idea? Does it design a brand personality? Is the ad unexpected? Is it focused or single-minded? Is it visually arresting? Does it get the attention and stop the consumer from moving on to something else? Does the ad reward the prospect? Is it entertaining? Does the ad exhibit painstaking craftsmanship? Is it done well? So planning, creative strategy. The creative challenge is every marketing situation is different. And every campaign or ad is going to require a different creative approach. There's also an issue of taking creative risks. The problem is if you refuse to take risks, you run the risk of having very boring advertising, which is not going to be attention-getting or attention-holding. So some creative risk-taking is essential for really, truly breakthrough advertising that gets noticed. I've got the Budweiser frogs here because the Budweiser frogs are an excellent example of an ad campaign that was risky, that I think if they tested it in the normal ways in which ad concepts are usually tested, it would have been killed early on. And yet, in its time, was one of the most successful campaigns in the beverage category for years. That lasted probably 3 or 4 years, which is pretty amazing in that category. We also have the issue of creative versus hard sell advertising, and this can cause some conflict. Some people believe that, advertising is information and should present information rationally. Others believe that advertising should build emotional bonds between consumers and brands. It should be artistic. But when we think in terms of strategy, and going again back to the FCB grid, these are not conflicting ideas. These are ideas that are more appropriate in some situations than in others. And it's important to always go back to the notion of what is the underlying motivation for the consumer to buy the product, and how does that line up with the information that they're seeking out.
Lots of marketing going on in this aisle. Fancy labels, slick designs. This one's got flowers on it. It's pretty. After the stomach flu ravages my home, am I supposed to believe that an ocean breeze is going to blow it away? Please. I know what clean smells like. Bleach. the same bleach that knocks down dysentery and cleans up crime scenes. You want to spend $3 on liquid doubt? Be my guest. You want clean? Get a cleaner with bleach in it. Clorox means clean.
Clearly a rational appeal and also a very authoritative appeal with some humor thrown in there. Compare that to
You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. You'd be like heaven to touch. I wanna hold you so much.
Blue Bunny ice cream. Our best Blue Bunny ever. So much flavor. So much fun.
I can do this all day.
Blue Bunny. So hoppin' good.
Yeah, quite different. And the Blue Bunny is quite amazing because those visuals, my gosh, it makes me hungry every time I see it. It uses familiar music, has a very light tone. And if you think about it, both of those ads are perfect examples of sort of low involvement thinking versus feeling in FCB terms and the kind of communications we'd use for different kinds of products. Finally, Young, as in Young and Rubicam, again, one of the largest agencies in the world, had a model of the creative process. And it goes immersion, digestion, incubation, illumination, and reality or verification. I think we've talked about this before. And the idea is that the creative process is fed by information, gathering raw material data, immersing oneself in the product, in the brand, in the marketplace, in consumer experiences, analyzing that information, letting the subconscious do some of the work, not all of the work, but some of the work, so percolating, and then illumination is this idea of the big idea, the birth of an idea, the light bulb going off, and then studying the idea and reshaping it for use in an ad campaign. Finally, I pulled this back up because we talked about this way back in Module 1. I think some people mistakenly believe that creativity is only important for creative services or, for example, for interactive digital creative director, producer, production director. That's not the case. The very best ad people who are working, for example, in client services or in planning and research, and also in special services like direct or in media, are creative people. They're people with creative ideas. The difference between a good and a great, for example, account director or account supervisor, is someone who can approach problems in a creative way, and that includes communication problems. That wraps up our discussion of the role of creative strategy and creativity in advertising. Happy marketing!